Coming up next, Book TV presents Afterwards, an hour-long program where we invite guest hosts to interview authors. This week, Dana Priest and her latest book, Top Secret America, The Rise of the New American Security State. In it, the Washington Post investigative reporter argues that the federal government's efforts to protect America after the terrorist attacks of September 11th led to the creation of multiple security programs that now employ hundreds of thousands of people with top-secret security clearance. The Pulitzer Prize winner says this hidden bureaucracy is too vast and dangerous and needs to be exposed. She explores the issue with former Undersecretary of Defense Douglas Feith.
Dana, you have offered up a depiction and a condemnation of top secret America. What is it?
What's top secret America? Good starting question. It's a term that we came up with, my co-author and I, to describe a world that grew up after 9/11 in response to 9/11. We try to collect, we both noticed that we noticed over the years after 9/11 that there were more secret programs that the government undertook. I was covering intelligence at the time, so I was responsible for writing about some of those programs, but they were programs meant to defeat Al-Qaeda. And what started out as a very quick response, obviously everybody very worried about another possible attack soon, Congress threw money at the intelligence world and said, do what you need. It's basically a blank check. Do what you need. And because of the uniqueness of the organization that the United States found themselves confronting, not a regular army in any means, not even an irregular army, but a network of low-tech individuals in a culture that we didn't understand very much anyway, this was a big challenge. So virtually any government agency that had anything to do potentially with intelligence or could sell themselves as having potential impact to the war on terrorism, as George Bush called it, started to get in on the action. Wanted to be in where the center of gravity was on this fight. Some of them were well-equipped and others were not well-equipped at all, but nobody ever said no to anybody. I mean, this is a generalization, but that's basically what we found. And we started, both on our own, in separate ways, to start seeing indications of this. I was covering the CIA and the intelligence community. Bill Arkin is a longtime defense analyst, and he looks at a lot of documents. He was seeing a plethora of code names proliferating on government contracts, on job sites, in all sorts of areas. Things that the code names were different. They weren't like Justice Assured and Valiant Warrior, things that we assigned to wars. There were things like Anchovy and Skyrider and Pinwheel, things that just didn't make any sense. And there were hundreds and hundreds of them. So he was seeing this happening in his way, in a very document-oriented way. I, at the same time, was uncovering a lot of the programs that were set in place among the most secret of our agencies, the CIA and the Special Operations military units. And as I learned more and more about those needed more and more support organizations. But as well, every unit in the military that could call itself now a counterterrorism unit or could make a case, and they didn't really need to make a very strong case, could get funding from Congress to try to do something about it. And I saw also a proliferation of these sort of secret organizations that, frankly, at the time we both decided this was something worth writing about. We had no clue how large they were or how many people were involved or anything. So that was our determination, was just to sort of start peeling back the onion, and we had to come up with a methodology, which we can talk about later if you want, to do that. But in the end, we decided that we would call this Top Secret America. And the reason why we didn't call it Secret America is because when we started looking, we looked at the secret level. The classification system has, as you know, various levels, and we wanted to start at the secret level. But there were so many organizations that work at the secret level that there was no way in our lifetime we could hope to get our arms around and categorize them. So we went one step up, which made it much more difficult for us because top secret really should be, you know, secret. But even there, we found nearly 2,000 contractors that work on projects at the top secret level, and nearly 1,200 government organizations that work at the top secret level. And they include everything from the most obvious, the National Security Agency and the CIA, to the Park Service.
So let me see if I...
And we called this Top Secret America.
Let me see if I understood properly many of the points of your concern or criticism of what you call Top Secret America. Your argument is that the government classifies as secret much too much information.
That is a good starting point.
That's
right.
One thing. And that the information is kept secret for too long. You have argued, as you just mentioned, that the bureaucracy that is doing this classification of information has been growing enormously, especially over the last 10 years. You do a very vivid job of depicting the growth of buildings and the hiring of personnel and the expanding use of contractors. You make a number of very interesting points about how when there was a strong demand for analysts and there was a shortage in the government, the contractors come in to fill the gap, and one of the ways they fill the gap is hire the few people that are already in the government as analysts, and they hire them away from the government and then charge them back to the government at much higher rates. You emphasize the lack of accountability of these bureaucracies, that officials serving in the bureaucracies are often classifying things for personal or bureaucratic reasons rather than for the national interest. And you talk about redundancy, wastefulness, inefficiency. Is that I mean, that's
yes,
a fair...
You touched on most of the main points of the book. Yep.
Now, what I'd like to ask you is, are you not, with those criticisms, essentially making a criticism of government bureaucracy in general? In other words, those criticisms apply as much to non-secret government agencies as to secret government agencies.
Well, you know, I would be hesitant to say yes, only because I haven't studied other government bureaucracies as much. I did report on the healthcare industry in my younger days, and certainly you can look at big systems like Medicare and Medicaid and say, you know, they have issues too, but this is different because, one, it deals with national security. So it's more essential, it's more important, and getting it wrong is potentially more harmful to us. But the biggest difference is the secrecy. I mean, most other areas of the government, let's take most of defense, for example. The public can look at it. The public can go to hearings. The hearings can reveal a lot. I remember sitting in hearings during the Cold War and debating whether we needed, you know, how many nuclear submarines. And we knew the cost of the submarines. We knew who manufactured them. We knew who could lobby because they manufactured them. And we could hold Congress accountable. We could say, you know, did this person vote for that because this is in their district? And we used to do reporting on this all the time. In Top Secret America, you can't do any of that. And that is one reason why the secrecy is counterproductive, because it excludes a public debate about what is the smartest way. It excludes a public accounting of how well the government's doing. And even the best-hearted people, and I believe that most you know, by and large, most everybody who works in Top Secret America is trying to do a good job.